Hey world, this is Jamie, host of the Jamie and Genty Show, broadcasting live each week on Tuesday at 12 p.m. from Fishbowl Studios. Log on to hear sports talk from basketball to football and view your feedback on the biggest sports news you want to talk about from around the world. So be sure to log on each week Tuesdays at 12 p.m. to catch the Jamie and Genty Show. Hope to see you soon
on Fishbowl Radio Network.
Jump in. Welcome to the Beyond the Game podcast on Fishbowl Radio. My name is Jamie. It's Tuesday, October the 14th, 2025. How's everyone doing out there? That's good? Good. Now, the Cowboys. What an embarrassment on Sunday. And to think that would be my birthday present. A win. All the things that we went through. From Rico Dallas saying what he said. Buckle up. I'm coming. The man wanted to be here. The man said, pay me. Heck, even if you give me 3 years, $12 million, fine. That's what you gave. You gave a year to Javonte. He only gave you 29 yards on 13 carries. But let me get to these headlines first before I talk about this nonsense. So you talk about making adjustments, right? You talk about every season we see mid-season adjustments. Everybody's firing coaches. Everybody's releasing players. Everybody's changing scheme. At this point in time, the Titans have fired not Bill Callahan, Ryan Callahan, the son of Bill Callahan, yesterday. Now, his coaching was awful. 3-14. You drafted two number one quarterbacks. You couldn't get Cam Warren going. When your rookie quarterback, says we are ass, that's saying something. That is saying something. You didn't take that into account, that your number one pick said we are ass, we suck. And so at this point, what do the Titans do? You tried everything. You tried to fix the problem. Was Mike Vrabel. Now Mike is going to New England and succeeding over there. You can't just fire coaches just to fire coaches. You have to find an identity. Players on that team want to win. Your quarterback is confused on who is the leader in the locker room. And so to me, you can't just fire coaches just to send a message. The message has to be sent in the front office. You got to do your evaluations. You got to do the homework, the heavy stuff. Make sure that that person is your number one hire, so that your number one hire is not on the fence anymore. That's the confusing part to me, is that we live in a world where the results have to matter. And I understand that. But whatever happened to being patient? Whatever happened to having identity for your number one quarterback? And then here's the Jets. Aaron Glenn, I'm not sure if he's that far behind. I think he can go 0-17 and he will still have a job. But his messages is not resonating with the players. The players don't like your messaging, which is why your record is 0-6 right now. That Jets game, that was terrible. That was terrible. And you know what the weakest part is? You're going after a reporter. That's what Aaron Glenn did. So let's play Aaron Glenn going after a reporter out on this question.
AJ, I understand you probably want to watch the film.
Yep.
But Justin's numbers are not good for this game.
No.
Is he going to be your quarterback next week, or would you?
Come on, man. What kind of question is that?
He did not have a good game. I mean, I think it's a fair question.
There's a number of guys that, sometimes this league is like this, and there are guys that have bad games. That doesn't mean you just bench them. Come on, you know better than that.
So, but that's the weakest part of the job. You're not everything you said was right, but don't go after the reporter when your ass is on the line. Your quarterback out of negative 10 yards passing. A negative 10 yards passing. Your wide receivers are not getting the ball. They're frustrated. They're trying to figure out how to get up. They're trying to figure out what the offense is. How can we fix this thing? But yet it's like it's the problem. The problem is the coaching. They don't want your messaging anymore. They want to win. That is the bottom line. They want to find what works. Because right now it's a dumpster fire in New York. And then Brian Branch suspended. He got suspended one game for a punch to Juju. Brian got the heat in the moment. That stuff happens all the time. But heat in the moment, he needs to learn his lesson. I agree with the suspension. And, hopefully he learns his lesson. But we get to the Cowboys. Now, this was an embarrassing loss. You see, I don't have it here. Well, actually, I do want to talk about the fan hosts, but we'll talk about that on my final take. Let's start with Dak. Dak went 25 for 34 for 261 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks. So the offensive line played pretty well. He's playing at the MVP level with no help. We can't blame him for the losses. In this room last year, every time a Cowboys loss happened, we blamed the quarterback. It was in this room, and then it was in the street. We blamed Dak. Now the noise has quieted a little bit. Now we're not blaming Dak as much anymore because Dak is doing his job. It's just that it's the other stuff. It's the defense. The defense is terrible. You made Bryce Young look good. Look at Bryce Young. Look at his stats. 17 for 25 for 199 yards, 3 touchdowns, an interception. He got sacked once. It's fine. Look at this rating. At 53% rating. 14. Dude. 3 for 12 against zone. Dude, this man is a foot away of being out of the league. You made him look like the greatest quarterback of all time. You made him look like Cam Newton out there. I mean, Bryce is not great. You made him look great. Heck, you even made Justin Fields look even better than Bryce Young. And Justin Fields has the worst offensive line in the league. And then number 2, Rico Dalla. When a person says, buckle up, or any of those words, you have to take that lightly and not respond. I don't like to respond when someone gets upset for giving their hard-ass effort. This man had 1,000 yards last year. He won the signing contract. You gave him nothing, Jerry, and he runs your ass for 200-plus yards, and you do nothing about it. No one has answers. The man woke up with a mission. Even in the post-game interview, when he talked to Ben Oliver, you saw the body language. He wanted to be here. He didn't care about the big money. He said, I'll work for a year. I'll work for 2 years. The vet minimum, whatever that vet minimum is. He was upset. He took it out on us. We didn't even have a fight on defense. Shoddy made it a joke. Every time he goes to the fucking press conference, it's always a fucking joke. This ain't a game anymore. We're 2-3-1. And then what happened to the running game? That's number 3. Only 31 yards rushing. 31. Nothing. Look at this. Bonte had 13 carries for 29 yards. And this is who you signed for a year? After he put up a great game last week? You couldn't reciprocate that? Because the line wasn't moving. They suck. The line wasn't moving at all. We can't fix this. We can't fix this, man. The only thing we can fix is having our offensive line back, and I don't know. I don't know when they're going to come back. We have to see what happens moving forward. Then you get to the defense, number 4. The defense is terrible. There's no ifs or buts about it. There's no run defense. There's not one player that can fix this. You made Bryce Young look legit. You made the Panthers look great. You know, they were catching passes like crazy. Look, I mean, the ones that got me was their tight ends were blocking downfield a lot of times. So like, this is unbelievable, man. Man, you made them look great. And then, should Eberflus be fired? Okay. This man came from Chicago. He got fired in Chicago because he couldn't fix Caleb Williams. So what made you think that he could fix the defense? What has changed? The change is that we're not getting enough turnovers. The change is that the tackling is off. Okay, that's a technique thing. That can be fixed. The scheme, zone, man, whatever it is. Why? Like, change it up. Like, all these teams in the league are making moves. You can't wait until the next game, which is against Washington. They'll just run it down our throats. They're more hungry than us. You got to make a change now. Because once you make a change now, then you can sit there on Monday or today and say, hey, what are we going to do to fix this defense? With the limited pieces that we have no leadership on defense. That's the problem. We don't have guys that are willing to commit to playing defense. We don't have that commitment at all. Eberflus should be fired. And again, I always tell y'all on this show, I never want to come after anybody's job. But this one, I have to come after. I never want to applaud for a guy to be fired. I never wanted to be relieved of a guy being fired. But this defense is horrible. We got to figure out a way to fix this. 6 games in, we're still trying to figure this out. And then, whose fault is it, Jerry or Steven? Now, every week, I always make an argument about, Jerry and Steven being on the radio every week. And that's still going to be my argument for the rest of my life. Why are these guys on the radio every single week talking about, football stuff? Again, they know nothing about football. We can't sign the personnel that we're supposed to sign. Okay? We wait to the last minute to make a move. We get Kenny Clark off a trade of Micah Parsons. Okay, Micah Parsons wasn't going to stop the run anyways. And then they say we need a defensive tackle to block the holes. Okay? You got that covered. Then we need a linebacker that will make every play. We need a corner that can cover. We got corners, but they're hurt. We got one corner, Trayvon Diggs, that doesn't want to play football anymore because his mind is not into it. He wants to argue more than play the game of football. And when you have those issues, that's when you're on the out. You're out of there, man. Every possession you have to argue of the reason why y'all suck on defense. Where is the argument at? Why you have to argue with the coaching staff? And I'm not saying the coaching staff is right. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, where is the communication? Where is the common line? Where is that line that says we're going to meet at the line here? Where's that manhood? I'm playing hurt. Okay, do you know? And I'm not analytic guy. Do you know that 90% of the league is playing hurt right now? Do you know that? That percentage could be higher or lower, but my percentage is correct. 90% of the league is hurt. Do you know that when Trayvon Diggs steps on that field, do you know that he's getting beat every single time? Do you know that when the play comes to him, he's standing on his block more than he should be getting the ball carrier? Which is why you see 1, 2 tackles on the stat line. It's embarrassing. And you call yourself the leader of the defense. You call yourself the best corner in the game. You got the best corner money, but yet you're not willing to step up. I don't know what listen, this is embarrassing. And let's fix this embarrassment now. So we get to our final take, number 5. Carolina beats Dallas 30-27. Don't get too gullible. When I say that, let's talk about the fan real quick. Okay? 105.3 The Fan. You know, I love those guys. Let's talk about the Jets game last week, okay? We beat the Jets. I'm pretty sure all of the Metroplex was happy. Well, I was a little happy, but I wasn't solidified. The post-game show, you had Chris Arnold telling fans, you like the win. You keep cutting fans off by, this one fan wasn't pleased. But Chris Arnold was like, you got to be solidified with the win. Okay, Chris, this is the Jets. You're supposed to beat the Jets. I'm pretty sure a high school team can beat the Jets right now. You're supposed to beat them. This is not a humble victory. You still got work to do. The Panthers? You're supposed to beat the Panthers because they're one of the worst organizations of all time. Look at their city. They can't even have a WNBA city, even though they talk about it all the time. Look at the Charlotte Hornets. I've been up their ass since 2015 because they have the worst NBA ownership in America history. And that's saying a lot. That's saying Michael Jordan. And then they're like, oh, Jamie, Michael Jordan's the GOAT. Yeah, he is. But he can't own shit. The Carolina Panthers are one of the worst organizations in American history. They need to tear that down, but yet they beat us. And you come on the radio and you tell fans, oh, we beat the Jets. Let's be satisfied with that. Dude, no. But the Panthers, you change your tone. So why is it that you tell us to be okay with mediocrity versus the Panthers? You're going off. You're saying, oh, remember this player? We need this player. Remember that player? We need this player. Okay? It's not just him. I'm going to draw this line here. G-Bag Nation. I listen to them almost every day. Every loss that Gavin Dawson has always mentioned about the draft. Today is what? October the 14th, right? October the 14th, we're talking about the draft. The draft doesn't happen for another 6 months. Guys are in their college years. And these fuckers want to talk about the draft already. Bros is like, oh, let me talk to Dan, and I'm on it. Gavin Dawson's like, we need some players on this team. Dude, you realize that every first-round pick that we draft, you expect the highest regard for them. You expect the highest regard for them. That pushes the next player to perform. So if you draft a Micah Parsons, you draft anybody else in the draft, linebackers, cornerbacks, you're pushing Trayvon, you're pushing that linebacker core to perform better because they don't trust you. They don't trust you. So these guys talking about the draft already when it hasn't even been mid-October yet, when it hasn't been the end of October, when we haven't got to November yet, and you're talking about the draft. Guys have not been in November, and you're talking about bullcrap, and it ain't right. That's why you do every loss. They always talk about the same bullshit instead of encouraging guys that are on the team right now. Right now, you're talking about the draft, and jobs will be lost today because y'all will want that. Y'all will want a rebuilding franchise, and every time you lose, it's the same stupid conversation again. And again, you can go ahead and scout the draft if you want. Forget the post game. Forget the pregame. Forget the game, the Cowboys game, for whatever. We got 11 or 12 games left. We can make the playoffs. And I say that was truth. We can make the playoffs. With the core that we have right now, we can make the playoffs. Are you going to bring this up in clips? You're going to bring this up in clips and embarrass me. But it's just too much. Then, Sean Sharif yesterday. Okay. This is my last rant about this. Okay? Because every loss is like, I know more than what these Cowboys reporters are. They're on the front lines. They're going to the practices. They're going to the press conferences. They're around the players. Nick Eatman was talking on Sean and RJ yesterday, and I can't remember what they were. I can't remember the type of conversation they were having, but Sean Sharif interrupts Nick Eatman. He apologized, but it's like, okay, I was ready for Nick Eatman to come out with what he wanted to say, and he was interrupted. That's what happens when the Cowboys lose. These fan people know more than these reporters that are out there on the front lines. And I'm not saying the fans guys are stupid. I love those guys, but it's like you have to draw that line where I would love to hear what the reporters have to say more than you guys. More than you guys. Okay, Broadus says we need another player. We don't, Broadus. Like, be good with what you have, man. You said we needed a defensive tackle. The Packers gave you one. You said you needed a corner. You elevated one from the practice squad. Those guys have a chip on their shoulders, man. They can lose their jobs between now and the end of the season. They know this. Be solidified was what we have. And I honestly don't think that Sean Sharif or RJ Choppy know anything about football at all. I don't think they do. They may watch the games. They may talk crap online. That's what they do. But I don't think they know about anything about Dallas Cowboys. They'll talk to Jerry every week. That's fine. That's easy to talk to the owner/GM. Easy to ask him to pick his brain, to pick coach's brain. That's easy. But the game of football, I don't think you know. And I say that with respect. Now, the next three before our bye week is Washington, Denver, and Arizona. We struggle with physicality and focus. We got Washington, a desperate team coming in here. They're injured. They have no idea what's going on. But yet, it's like it's like the loss yesterday was terrible. But it's okay. You know, we come in, we take care of business the first four quarters, and let's actually win, man. Let's try to do something productive. All right, and that's my Dallas Cowboys take of the day, guys. Thank you. But let's get to some college football. All right, so college football here. The Mean Green, they fumbled the ball. They had 31,000 show up for a Friday night game in Denton against the South Florida Bulls. Okay. South Florida beats us 63-36. Everybody wants to talk about the fans thing and all that stuff, but we got our ass kicked by 27 points. That's the biggest thing. We got our ass kicked. We gave up 63 points, returned the ball over 5 times. That's positive. The only positive was 31,000 showed up. We scored 36 points, so, I mean, that's good. Miles Coleman had 7 receptions for 101 yards and a touchdown. Landon Slides was the only player that showed fight. When that guy scored off a fumble recovery in the end zone for the South Florida Bulls, he scored. We fumbled. He scored on that fumble, showboating a little bit, and then Landon Slides gets into his face and draws a penalty. And so, to me, I love that. I want some fight in the game. That guys don't do this in your house. Guys can just come in, sit on your house, sit in your house, have a cup of tea, drink that tea, and then move. The con is Drew Musselmaker hasn't faced an elite defense. South Florida is an elite defense. Drew Musselmaker went 30 for 48 for 326 yards. Remember, good stats. He threw 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Okay? He struggled against elite defense. He played weak. And then when he got taken out of the game, when the game was out of reach, they put Chris Jimerson in over Reese Poppelberger. Now, Reese Poppelberger has more experience than Chris Jimerson. I don't know Chris Jimerson. I think Chris Jimerson was in the game because I guess Eric Warren's wanted a running quarterback. So I didn't think that Reese was a running quarterback. So it was kind of odd for me to see that he was in the game. Chris Jefferson was in the game because honestly, I really didn't know his game. I honestly thought that Drew Musburger played awful. I mean, his decision making was awful. You can't turn the ball over 5 times and expect to win the game. 28 points off those turnovers, and then only 7 points. I mean, we were turning them over in the first quarter. USF had 3 turnovers in the first quarter alone. We only scored 7 points off those turnovers. 7 out of 36 points. Out of 36 points. That was the only turnover we scored. And their quarterback, he's not a Sunday quarterback. He's just a quarterback. He goes 22 for 28 for 245 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception. He carried the ball 21 times, 82 yards and 2 touchdowns. Byron Brown. Poor tackling, poor offense. Get caught up in the moment. Morris was too focused on other opportunities. Now, I say this because, here's one. Number one, you were focused on the turnout. I think the turnout eliminated the focus on the field. You didn't expect 31,000 to come to this game. That was played on ESPN2. You took everything was off. You haven't played an elite defense like this. But the good thing is that you scored 36 points. But I'm not solidified with this loss. And number 2, and I think Eric Morris was focused on other opportunities. Okay, there's like 10 head coaching openings out there. You would think that Eric Morris would get at least one of them. And the reason why he will get one of them is because his offensive scheme. Even though he does not have a great record, the money will be there, and also his offense is great. These teams, these schools are looking for a boost. Eric can give you that boost, but he can't give you that boost in North Texas. We got to win a division to get us that boost. And right now, I don't think we're winning that division. I think this is going to be a division where this is going to be probably Memphis and South Florida. Like, we can lose another game. I told y'all before we started this. I told y'all that this October is the toughest stretch in football. I expected a loss to South Florida. South Florida is a good team. We got UTSA next. I think we have Memphis after that. But it's not gonna look easy. I think the team is gonna compete again, but you have to put some respect in the game and put some discipline down, because the discipline wasn't there. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't surprised. I was disappointed. I was disappointed because we weren't ready to play this game. But you got people online saying we want 31,000 on there again. I'm like, well, okay, we got to win first. We can't have 31,000 show up to Lamar or Washington State. Who are those teams? And those 2 teams we scored 50-plus against. And then you get to number 2. Colorado fans rush the field. Now, Colorado beats Iowa State, is number 22, was number 22 in the nation. They beat them 24-17. All what Coach Prime went through last week. This man went to go have surgery on his foot because he had blood clots in there. Cleaned everything out. He showed up to practice the next day, and it was business as normal. So you would think that the players will be inspired by that. You look at that. You would think they'll be inspired. But I think they were. Caden Slater went 16 for 25 for 255 yards, 2 touchdowns. He carried the ball 9 times, 57 yards. Joseph Williams had balled out 8 receptions, 128 yards, a touchdown. He needs more reps. Now, Mario Miller, 3 receptions for 82 yards and a touchdown. Quarterback played under control. When Caden plays under control, he's one of the best in the league. And then the defense steps up in the second half. The defense made numerous stops in the second half to keep them under control. So it wasn't more talking. It was their talking, doing the action. It was more tackling. It was more scheme. It was more confusing scheme. This was the best defensive play calling all season long. And then, again, team plays inspired, but then again, the fans stormed the field. So we're going to play 2 Coach Prime picks. Actually, I think we have 3. Let's play the clip that his team was inspired and he's happy for them. So let's play Coach Prime, the first clip, please.
Thank God for the sellout crowd. It's one of the most beautiful things that you ever want to see. Standing on that sideline, looking behind our bench and looking across to see over 50,000 radical, passionate fans. I love these kids and these adults and everybody that's fan base to life. But I'm so darn happy for these young men and the staff and everybody involved in our program. We fought for this one throughout the week, staying on their butts, making sure we're not accepting mediocrity, because that can happen when you lose a couple games straight. I think that was our first stint that we lost back-to-back games.
That was? Oh. So, so you saw what Coach Prime went through. He went through a lot. But also, the fans, okay? Coach, do you not realize that this is the third field storming this season? The third one. Because Virginia had one. And 19 people came out of that hurt. One lady, according to reports, saying that she broke both of her legs. And I'm like, well, this is why the NCAA banned it. But, Coach, you have to be aware of these times. The NCAA does it for safety reasons. Because if you do it, if you continue to rush the field, you realize that you're putting your team, you putting the other teams in harm's way. The other team's coming off a hard game. They just want to get to the locker room. That's it. They didn't expect like 50,000 people rush the field and celebrate with the guys, act like you won a championship. You won a game. I mean, I'm not trying to get off my lawn guy, but like I told y'all before, I will do it as I will do it. I will do the field storming as like, okay, I will allow the other team to get off the field first. Once they get off the field first, then you can storm the field. There's not enough security that you can stop people from running the field and all that stuff. There's not enough. But you got to understand, Coach, there's injuries. People can't control themselves. People have different weight patterns. Somebody that comes on the field with different weight patterns, no offense to me, but if they come on the field with different weight patterns and somebody gets hurt, they're out for the season or game, lawsuits happen, everything else happens. So you have to – I understand the celebration, and I want the kids to have fun. I want them to celebrate. But there's other places on campus that you can go celebrate from. For example, at UNT, there's a union. Go celebrate there. Like, why are you on my field? Go celebrate the union. There's places on campus, Price Street. Go celebrate there. Union. The union's big enough to fit over 100K people. I know because I've been there. So I don't want the NCAA to fix this because they already did it. But I know for sure that when 50K happens, I know most of these kids won't chip in. Most of these kids won't chip in, Coach. We understand where you grew up. I understand it because I remember that when I was living at home, I had to chip in something. I had to chip in the electric bill. I had to chip in the rent. I had to chip in little groceries. here and there. I had to chip in. So I want the kids to have fun, but at the same time, let's do it a little bit more safe. Let's play that last Coach Prime clip, please.
But I love to see it. I really do. Is it a fine for rushing the field? What is it? 50 what? For rushing the field? 50,000 for rushing the field. Who made that a rule? Excuse me? Come on, man. That ain't right. I mean, these kids, well, we have 50,000 right there. We can chip in. Let's chip in. That's how it was when I grew up. We going somewhere back before you get in the car with some gas, you got to chip in.
Okay, so, Coach, like I said, I understand where you grew up. I understand. I did the same thing. But these kids are not going to chip in. Come on. They don't want the school to pay it over and over again. And honestly, it's not gonna fix itself. So we got to find a way to make sure that the kids stay in the stands. Number 3, Texas stuns OU. I don't know if this was stunning to me. As I watched the game and listened to the game, I said Texas was playing upset. Somebody yelled at them. Coaches yelled at them during the week to make this play. They had a film session, and every coach nitpicked every single thing the Texas Longhorns were lacking at Florida, because that's what happened. They nitpick every single thing. They weren't making this tackle. They didn't understand this play. Somebody in that room was challenged, and they answered that challenge. Arch Manning, like I said, his mentors were upset at his play, and they fixed it. Arch Manning fixed it because somebody was upset at their play. So that's what you saw. They played with a chip on their shoulder. They were confident. You saw a team that didn't back down. You saw a team that had the it factor in them. That says we were number 1. We were supposed to be in the college football playoff. But right now, we got 2 losses, and we're just going to take it game by game, which as you should. But again, this fan base is like, oh, we're supposed to be in the college football playoff. We lost to Ohio State and Florida. Okay, it happened. Let's focus on Kentucky. Kentucky, again, it's in a given Saturday, man. Like you never know what's going to happen. Things happen. Let's move on. But I don't even know John Mateer is a hero. He went 20 for 38 for 202 yards, 3 interceptions. He was sacked 5 times. So he played with but he had surgery on that broken thumb 17 days ago. I'm not sure why he tried to play this game. And if I'm backup quarterback for OU, I'll think about my options of transferring. I'll just think, if I were them, I'll just think about my options. That's my option. Then you get to number 4. TCU goes down hard at K-State. This was surprising to me. TCU beats a Colorado team that was underachieving. But K-State came out of nowhere, beats TCU 41-28. Man, they were turning the ball over like crazy. The defense wasn't that great. Avery Johnson had 198 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. His tackles, everything's in TCU's hands. They can win the Big 12. But in order for you to win the Big 12, you have to take care of business first. Because I honestly think it's wide open for them, honestly, despite the loss. But if not, then we're going to start having questions about this TCU team. And then number 5, coaches are fired. Now, this was a big one because James Franklin was fired after the Northwestern game. He got beat by Northwestern 22-21. Now, even though Drew Allers is going to be out for the season for the lower leg injury, we have to understand what James Franklin did. James Franklin spent 12 seasons at Penn State, and he controlled a legacy. It was every player, every staff that loved James Franklin Loved him for his tenacity and his hard work. Now, it's unfortunate today in this generation that you got fans, and they're not even fans, they're students of the game that wanted James Franklin fired because of the results. This is a results-oriented business. If you don't win, you're out. The generation takes over. This generation has taken over college sports, which is why if you're an accomplished college football head coach or college basketball head coach, they want your ass. They want your ass. They think that you can coach better than them. Students don't want to be on the field. They don't want to be on the field, but they'll say a lot of shit to the coaches when they don't when they don't produce. That's the problem with what James Franklin had. He didn't produce. I wouldn't applaud him for being fired because, again, the man has a family. The man spent 12 seasons. That's all he knew. And you let students control your decision-making. It was your decision to get rid of him right now. Instead of just waiting until the end of the season and blocking out that noise, you were pressured to make a move. James Franklin will have any job he wants. There's like at least, I told y'all before the show started, I think that there's at least 10 of them right now. There could be more, but there's 10 of them right. I think so. I only list about 6. But rest assured that he's going to have opportunities. If he sits out, he sits out. You know, that's on him. But it's the aspect of knowing where to go. He had a job. He was going to it every day. He was gracefully going through it every single day. And you let kids of this generation take over the crap. You let them take over your decision-making. And that shouldn't be happening. That shouldn't even be happening. And it is. So let's hear from the AD director, please. The Penn State athletic director.
Can you say how James took it, and has he had an opportunity, or will he be able to talk to the team? How's that work?
Yeah, so fortunately for him, he was able to address the team. He let them know. And as you could imagine, it was emotional. Those kids love him. You know, he went into each and every one of their homes and brought them here. And their families entrusted him. So there was a lot of emotion in that meeting. James is a great guy, man. He's done so much for all of us that we're thankful. We're going to miss him.
Terry Smith. That's going to take over at Penn State. But here is the AD at Penn State, the real AD. So let's play that. Oh, I told you that? Yeah, that's the AD.
It's a small world we have, and we're all friends. And so you cannot make decisions of this magnitude lightly. So to say, we lost to Oregon and we lost to UCLA. No, it's about where are we as a program? Where are we going? How do I give my student athletes the best chance to win? How do I continue to build this to a place that we are the best program in the country? That's the motivation. And so as you start to put all those things together, you got to make the call. And that's where we were.
Okay, you know that's a load of crap. That is a load of crap. You know that the students controlled this thing. When you lost to UCLA, Northwestern, and Oregon, you knew what the students were feeling. You didn't want to win. You knew what they were feeling. You let the students pressure you to make a move. That's what they did. They pressured you to make a move now because they were intoxicated by going to the bowl game last year, by being in the college football playoff for the first time ever. And it had to come down to this. The man left a legacy. Even though he didn't win a championship, he left a legacy to win, to keep Penn State alive, and that's what he did. He did his job. Students don't like that, but, hey, It is what it is. Now, look, we get to UAB. This is the last and final call, the last and final thing I'm going to talk about.